Welcome, colleagues and colleagues around the world. Today I'm going to talk about a topic which is only in a tangential manner related to the overall theme of this Around the World conference, Privacy and Surveillance in the Digital Age. My theme will be open access publishing in humanities and social sciences and the issue of ownership of academic publications. Academic publishing has become a topic of hot debates over the last decades. I think it's safe to say that this is due to developments which are intrinsically connected. The first one being a technological one. The World Wide Web and the rapid development of online publishing of academic publications of all sorts, starting with working papers, soon followed by online journals, and more recently the online publications of books, both monographs and edited volumes. And next to these digital versions of all the analog forms of publications, a variety of new forms of publications have been developed on the web, such as video, databases, animated graphs, and now even including a variety of social media such as Twitter. The second development which had led to much debate is the rise of open access as a movement and even as an ideology and as a publication model and business model. I'll start with the definition, a simple one by Peter Suber. Open access is academic literature which is digital, online, free of charge, and free of most copyright and licensing restrictions. To quote Jonathan Bate in a recent article in the Times Literary Supplement, the open access movement has been gathering force as an inevitable consequence of the global dominance of the internet. So I won't go into the origins and development of the open access movement as such because of time limits, but it's generally accepted that the origins of the movement are to be found in what is labeled a serials crisis. Steeply rising prices of subscriptions to academic journals in combination with stagnant or even shrinking library budgets led to a situation where libraries were less and less able to pay for and therefore provide access to an ever-growing number of academic journals. It's also important to qualify here that much of these steep rises in subscription prices and the serials crisis were initially at least predominantly happening in the sciences and far less in humanities and social sciences, where prices still are on average considerably lower. Some have even argued that open access was an answer to a problem created by the sciences, or at least by important stakeholders in the sciences, the large commercial academic publishers, but now has been imposed upon the humanities and social scientists and confronting them with structures, models, and conventions that do not necessarily match their own publication cultures. It has been argued from various sides, and lately especially within the academic world in the UK, that academic publishing is too broad a term to acknowledge the huge differences in the relation between research and publishing when one looks at the sciences at the one hand and the humanities and social sciences at the other. This disciplinary divide is lately becoming acknowledged more widely. For example, in the UK, I can refer to recent publications by the British Academy for the Humanities and Social Sciences that debate and explore the state of affairs and the various, often widely diverging opinions around open access publishing. So in this short presentation, I want to focus on two aspects of academic publishing to see how they differ in humanities and social sciences compared to the sciences, and insofar relevant, how these differences may relate to the recent debate on open access publishing and the question of ownership of publications. The first aspect I want to look into is authorship, and the second one is editing and publishing. And I think from these two aspects we can broaden the discussion to a more political theme, which I could label as democracy and publishing. This final theme can be captured in three questions. Should academic publications be considered as public goods, or should they be considered as commodities? Another question would be, for whom are we publishing? So this is a question about readership and the societal impact of academic research in humanities and social sciences. And then finally, I want to wrap this up in the question of ownership of academic publications. So first to the differences between humanities, social sciences and sciences in the aspect of authorships. Multiple authorship in sciences versus individual scholarship of authorship in humanities and social sciences. That is a first big difference. In sciences you have the kind of publications which will feature up to 10, even 50 authors, where in humanities the individual author is still predominant. But not only the number of authors whose names appear with a scholarly article differ, but also the way in which writing is often seen as a more essential element of the process of doing research in humanities compared to sciences is a big difference. For instance, the idea that in humanities the development of a long argument is essential to academic research, or an essential element of academic research, is a huge difference. Also in terms of the form of publications, there are huge differences. In sciences, almost 100% of all publications appear as journal articles. In social sciences, this is about 65%, whereas in, for instance, history, it's about 35% in articles, the rest in monographs and edited volumes. These figures are from a report about the situation in the UK, but it's generally thought that this is more or less the same all over the world. One of the consequences of these differences in the form of publications is that as a result of this serials crisis and the problems in academic publishing, there's now also the idea that also the monograph is becoming more and more in crisis. So the second aspect I want to look at is editing and publishing. If there's a different relation between research and writing and publishing in humanities and social sciences as there is in sciences, then it's likely there's also a different role for editing and publishing. And this leads to different publishing cultures and a different, what now commonly called, publishing ecosystem. If we look at the development of open access publishing, you see that in sciences the article processing costs or authors' fees have become dominant, while in humanities this is often seen as unethical, leading to perverse incentives, because the more you publish as an article, as a publisher, the more article processing costs can be charged. But also because in humanities, scholars have the idea that they actually do most of the work in the actual editing and publishing. They are requested to deliver very clean copy to the publisher, and are also the people who do the whole peer reviewing process. So what is then the value added by publishers? Then there is also an impact on, as I said before, the form of publication, because the dominant model for open access publishing at the moment is where the costs involved in publishing are covered by the article processing fees, or the problem arises, how about books? Because then the costs for one publication rise considerably. At the moment, different alternative business models are being developed to find a future for monograph and edited volume publication in open access. Examples are Knowledge Unlatched project, Open Edition, and Open Book Publishing. So, where does this lead? How does this lead to the issue of democracy and publishing? And the question: is an academic publication a public good or a commodity? The essence of the toll access model for publication, the traditional publication model, is based upon the exploitation of intellectual property. But the open access movement starts from the principle that all publications should be freely available. My conclusion is that ownership in terms of copyright and licensing is closely connected to all these issues, as it determines who can control the access to works published. The traditional so-called toll access model is based upon the commercial exploitation of intellectual property, hinging upon the author handing over the copyright to publishers, who then in return limits the access to the publication by putting a price to the access in the form of paid subscription or a price to a book. As this system now seems to have reached its limits as a result of the development of the digital online publishing, it's important that humanities and social science scholars become aware of the crucial role of ownership in scholarly publications, and start to learn more about the issues of licensing and the pros and cons, for instance, of the Creative Commons licenses, and enter the debate about the future of academic publishing more actively. Thank you.
Thank you, Aad, for a very nice contribution. Actually, I have a question for you myself, but let's first try the audience who might want to ask a question. In that case, I'll direct a question myself to you. You talked about ownership in regard to publishing, and you point out that a difference between the sciences and the humanities is this situation of multiple authorships and singular authorship, I guess. Now that we are moving in a situation where authoring also becomes more a digital thing, a digital task, or part of the workflow, and where in our projects, or some of our projects, also computational scientists and developers of software are starting to play a role. It is my feeling that this has an impact of ownership of the research, the project, and hence also the ownership of the publication is impacted as well. Do you have any thoughts about that? How we should provide for that? Should we provide for that? Is that changing? Any visible changes already in our field for that?
I think that there is a trend towards more multi-authored publications in humanities and social sciences. Certainly those connected to more digital related research. I think for the principle of ownership and the more general question, should academic publications be free or not, it really doesn't matter. Because if we think that a central argument of the open access movement, that the way that commercial publishers have been taking out a lot of money out of a system that is financed from the very start by the general public through taxes, then a single or multiple authorship really doesn't make that much difference.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions? I'm not sure how we're doing on time, so we might have to limit our Q&A to this. If no other questions, then I would like to thank Aad once again and a big hand for our first presenter. Thank you.